Zach Sang and the gang.
With Zach Sang and the gang, we're hanging out in the studio right now with Biz Stone.
Oh, we are?
Yeah. Hello, sir.
That's where we are.
Can I just tell you, it's an honor to have you here.
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Truly, I'm a huge fan of yours. And I was reading your new book, and it's freaking awesome.
Cool.
Why a book? Why a book now?
Well, I've been delivering this lecture for over a decade. It started at Oxford University, and then I started getting invited to all these different places to deliver this lecture.
Mm-hmm.
And as it grew and compounded, I realized that everyone from high school students through college students all the way up to like CEOs were coming up to me afterwards and saying, you know, that story about, you know, creativity, or that story about opportunity, like really resonated with me. It changed my perspective on what I'm doing now. And I was thinking, like, wow, like this is weird to have such a span of people being interested. And then someone suggested I turn the lecture into a book, and then I just thought, well, that's a great idea, so I did.
Why do you think people are interested? Why do you think you span from high school to CEOs? Why you? I mean, I could probably tell you, but I want to hear from you.
I mean, the book is very, you know, you've always heard that. You've heard that phrase, write what you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm an expert on my own life, right? But what I've done is I've used my own life and stories to deliver these salient sort of aphorisms or sort of advice for you know, life, business, etc. And I think, I mean, I don't know why exactly it resonates with people, but my hunch would be that it's giving them my perspective. It's a chance to sort of like see the world through my eyes for a little while, and I think it's always helpful to look at your life from a new, fresh perspective. It always gives you, you know, an opportunity to take another path, or take another approach, and so I think that may be why it resonates.
I also think it's because you're super relatable. You have a story that a lot of people can really relate to, just from where you started. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like I was like
you weren't born into
fancy.
anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that's the coolest part, right? Just hearing your story and seeing where you started and to seeing where you are now. It's just, besides writing the book, do you ever sit back and think about those moments?
All the time. I actually freakishly all the time do this. Like almost every morning I wake up and I'm like, hey, Livy, guess what? We're rich now. Like, can you believe that? Like, because my whole life was a struggle, and my childhood, my adult life, I was always in debt. Like, and so now, like every day, I always look back on different decisions. I do like this, and I guess the part of this is the book too. It's really just like, it's an act of sort of looking back and realizing what I was doing was actually teaching me something at that time.
Yeah.
You know, like looking back, well, why did I drop out of college? Well, you know, at the time it was a tough decision, but then you're looking back, it was a fantastic decision because I basically mentored with this great guy who's now like a dear friend of mine. And then, you know, should I quit Google after only 2 years? Like when I'm leaving all these like stocks on the table and the stock price is going up to like $1,000 or whatever. Like at the time it's just really tough call, but it's like, well, that was a genius move because I would have started Twitter. And like, you know, should we sell Twitter? Like, this is a lot of money. Like, oh my God, this is the most money I've ever could think of. And, and then we decided not to do it. And then like, you know, Twitter becomes this multi-billion-dollar public company. It's just like, so I'm constantly sort of thinking back, like, why did I make that decision? Why did I do that? And it always, in any case, it always has to do with kind of, you know, taking a fresh perspective and looking at my life and trying to kind of decide, you know, separate the money from, you know, what's the true passion. And one of the lessons I talk about in the book is that if you don't have an emotional investment in something that you're doing, it's pretty much guaranteed to fail. You know, it's not guaranteed by any means to be successful, but if you're not emotionally engaged, you don't love what you do. If you didn't love doing this radio program, you'd be like kind of bad at it. You wouldn't like it.
It wouldn't even matter. Yeah, you wouldn't
be like, whatever, I have this stupid radio show.
You'd come in half-assed just to get it done.
Yeah.
I think you dropping out of college is something that resonated with me, and it resonates with a lot of people who, you know, listening to us. One of the toughest decisions you've ever made? It
was tough because I had this fantastic scholarship.
Yeah, you were set.
I was totally set, and, you know, it's not like I advocate necessarily for dropping out of school. I think the decision has to be made individually, you know, and for me, I thought, well, first of all, I'm getting offered this job that don't people go to college to get this kind of job?
Yeah.
Aren't I kind of jumping ahead right now? And two, I'm a big fan of the concept of apprenticeship or, having a mentor. And I was thinking, I'm going to be sitting like next to this guy every day who's much older than me, 30 years older than me, learning everything he has to teach me. Like, that sounds great. So for me, it was the right choice. Not for everybody.
Did you design the cover of your book?
I actually sort of did. I didn't have the time to sit down, with page layout software and actually do it.
You must have been one of the toughest critics, though.
But what happened was they were doing this thing and I didn't like it, and I was like, "Here, just do it like this." And they were like, "Oh, that looks great. We'll do it." And then
and then they did it.
They did it professionally. But I was like, just my face in half, duotone blue, with I love handwritten text. I'm a big fan of it.
It's great. Do people everywhere you go, does Bird and Twitter come up in conversation now?
This bird?
The little bird.
Well, I know I drew that little bird myself.
Did he really?
Yeah, and it's a lot of people don't know this, but it's actually we had to, in order for copyright purposes, we had to give it a name, and I'm from Boston, so I named it Larry T. Bird. The T stands for the.
Wait.
So it's actually legally named. The Twitter bird is legally named Larry Bird. I
like that a lot.
Told everybody that now, so it's out there.
I mean, everywhere you go, you're synonymous with Twitter, the bird, 140 characters.
Yeah, and now Jelly.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully.
Is that scary, right? Seeing the success that Twitter has become, and you really, literally, single-handedly revolutionizing the way people ingest information. Does that put pressure on you moving forward in everything you do after that?
Yeah. Yes, and I think if you don't have anxiety and you're not, worried about it, you're probably doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. When you're doing a startup, most of the time they fail. So there is by no means a guaranteed route to success just because the last thing was successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's anxiety. There's my co-founder Ben Finkel. He had to make the same decision I had to make about Google.
Yeah.
When we came up with this idea, he had to decide whether or not he wanted to leave his job, and I was like, I don't want to ruin your life. Like, and this might not work. And he's like, yeah, but I can't get this idea in my head either. And so, I just told him to think really hard about it before he made a jump like that.
Is that what keeps it fun for you? Because you could easily, obviously, go. Now you're just an advisor at Twitter. You left in 2011. You can go back and sit and relax and hang out with your new baby.
I know. My wife loved that idea. It seemed like a great idea, and then what happened was we came up with this jelly concept, and it was just something we couldn't get out of our heads. My co-founder and I were thinking, oh my gosh, like in the past 15 years, no one has taken on this task of completely reimagining the way we get answers to our questions. We've just been basically doing it the same way for 15 years. But now we live in a completely different media landscape. It's all mobile. It's all social connected. It's totally different. And so we were like, wow, like, is this a thing? Like, the recent white papers have come out. You've heard about the 6 degrees of separation.
Oh, of course,
We're connected to everyone on planet Earth by 6 degrees. It's now 4 because of social and mobile.
How crazy is that?
We were coming up with this concept, this idea, like, all right, you ask a question on Jelly. It goes out. We'll send it. We'll route it to all your social networks. You'll get an answer back from a real person, a trusted person who really knows about that thing. It's not retrieving a document. It's giving you an answer from a real person. And we were like, is that a thing? That sounds like a thing. And we,
not a thing.
I swear, like I tried to convince myself that it was a bad idea. I went to all my friends. I was like, listen, here's the idea. Like, it's a complete rethinking of the way we get our answers. It's a mobile app. It goes out to social networks. It comes back with all these answers. We're going to use pictures. We're going to do all these things that computers can't do that only people can do. Like, what kind of leaf is this tree from? You can't hold that up to a computer and ask that. Like,
no.
So with Jelly, you can ask with pictures. You can ask with maps. All this stuff. And I ran the idea by all these different trusted people, and they were like, that is a genius idea, and it's so uniquely perfect for you because a lot of my friends know that one of the things that gives me the most pleasure in life is helping other people.
Yeah.
And fundamentally what Jelly is doing is just letting people help each other.
It is people helping people.
It's a system for people to help each other. And I couldn't get out of my head this idea that, like, okay, we've become the most connected humanity has ever been. Why? Why? I had a couple of years after leaving Twitter to start sort of getting philosophical and thinking like, why have we become so connected? What is the true promise of a connected society? And then there's somebody waiting to play letterpress with you right now, but I couldn't help but think like the true promise of a connected society is people helping each other.
Yeah.
And so I can't go wrong building Jelly, because even if it doesn't work, the effort will have been worth it. You know, I mean,
because you're still bringing people together, and you're still seeing,
even if it
at
doesn't
least
work,
it's some people helping other people.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of sort of creating more empathy. You know, like if we are successful with Jelly, let's say we get 100 million people, you know, actively using our service around the world, we'll be introducing sort of into their daily muscle memory this idea that, oh, someone else needs help right now.
Yeah.
And maybe in our lifetime we'll be able to kind of nudge upwards this sort of global empathy quotient, if you will, you know, just so much. And wouldn't that be great? You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the underlying kind of drive behind Jelly. I mean, of course, there's a great opportunity to make a business out of this, but the underlying drive there is that, like, making the world a more empathetic place, which is just wonderful.
Do you go into new ideas now seeing things so much differently after Twitter? Like, do you walk into this knowing how to really set up a startup and how to, you know, almost set up a startup for success?
Well,
because you've done it and
I've failed
you've learned.
enough. I've screwed up enough to know what not to do. That's
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, you know, it's one of the things I like to say is that, you know, with 10 years and a lot of really hard work, you'll eventually look like an overnight success.
Yeah.
So there's like all this stuff that I did before Twitter, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you just did Twitter, and you just like did
That's
it
what
in
you're
a
known
week. Aren't
for.
you great? Yeah. But yeah, no, I you know, I'm an advisor to a few startups, and it's just it's fun for me because I know the answer to a lot of questions. Like, hey, should we do it this way? No. Like,
Yeah.
we're thinking of doing a deal where we're gonna get like the lion's share of the money or whatever it is. Don't do the deal. The only deal worth doing is a win-win deal, because you want relationships to last. You know, if it's a lopsided deal, then eventually it's gonna fall apart, and it's just not going to be worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm writing about in the book. This is the kind of stuff I'm telling, you know, younger folks who are starting their own companies, their own apps, whatever. And I'm happy to do it. You know.
Can you walk me through Jelly? So
Sure.
I ask a question, right, via Jelly,
Right.
and it goes out to all my social media.
Not all. So here's how Jelly works.
Okay.
You can ask questions with pictures. You can ask questions with maps. And most importantly, your queries are going out to real people. And so what we've done is we've smushed both of the major social networks together. Both Twitter and Facebook are now one network.
Yeah.
Within Jelly. And your queries are routed to a percentage of those people, not just one degree out, like not one direct friend, but also a friend of a friend.
Oh.
And then any one of those people can also then say, I don't know the answer, but I know someone. They can forward it to another group of people.
Okay.
So essentially, your reach when you ask a question on Jelly is potentially the entire world.
That's great.
So, you've heard of the phrase. Have you ever heard of the phrase "the strength of weak ties"?
No.
It refers to this idea. It refers to this idea that you and your friends kind of know around the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, within reason, and yet there's that one acquaintance that you have, like a lawyer guy that you worked with once, who sort of weekly. You don't hang out with him, but you have his contact information.
Yeah.
But he is linked. His whole group of friends knows a whole bunch of different other stuff. So your question sort of jumps from your normal pool of folks into this
to an acquaintance,
other expert pool that can totally nail it for you. So
wow,
that's kind of the concept behind it. And then we made all of the. We basically designed a better way to ask a question, because it's you're not just uttering a few words or phrases. You're typing in a real question. Mm-hmm. You're adding a photo from either anything you can see in the world, anything on your camera, or from a web search, or you're adding a map. So it's this very interactive. You can draw on
Yeah.
We see a lot of people doing stuff like, I mean, this is a super boring example, but we see it over and over. Like, here's the back of my TV. How do I set up my DVR? And then somebody else just says, here's your HDMI port, and you got this yellow thing in the wrong hole. You know, it's like
That's cool.
It's like so great. You know?
Yeah, but just the whole concept, because you really are changing the way people get answers. It's
Right.
not just, I'm not Googling anymore. I'm going to my friend. I really, this is great.
Yeah, there's a just hopefully over time they'll be like, oh, this is a jelly thing.
Yeah.
This is something I should jelly, because it's just not a thing a computer can answer. You know, it's like, it's just, I don't even know yet what all the use cases are. I mean, the three types of general use cases we're seeing right now are identification, because it's a camera.
Yeah.
Right, it has a camera built into it, so it's like, what is this? What tree does this leaf come from? You know, or like, you know, is this snake poisonous or whatever? Like, or the other thing we're seeing is troubleshooting. Like I said, like, how do I fix this thing? Like, how do I set up this, you know, Xbox or whatever? Like, I'm with my TV, and they just take a picture and someone shows them how. And then the third thing we're seeing is just recommendations, because it is going out to people you know. So
Yeah.
you're like, listen, you're in like maybe you're in a new neighborhood and you want to try some street food, but you have like dietary restrictions. So you say, you know, what's a good veggie food truck around here? And then a friend of yours just drops a pin and says, you got to try Hella Vegan Eats. They're great. And you're like, perfect. I got a great answer from a trusted source, and it's showing me exactly on the map where to walk. So.
That's the question I always ask via Facebook, but because I only reach my current Facebook friends, I might not be getting the answers
Right.
that I really need.
That's the key thing is you're getting much more, potentially far more reach. And not only that, but it's also sort of purpose designed for Q&A. So like, you know that you don't feel bad about asking questions, because you know that people on there want to answer your questions. It's like, sorry, you don't have to be like, sorry to bother you. You know?
Exactly.
That's what it's for.
Is it harder to start an app like this now? Because, you know, Twitter and Facebook, really, they make up a giant share of everything.
It's so much easier.
Really?
It is so much easier now. The world is such a different place. When we launched Jelly 3 months ago, in the first full day of being in the app stores, we had over twice the accounts created than a year of Twitter.
Wow.
The reason is because Twitter and Facebook now exist. And what happens is people just like instantly start tweeting about it, and like they're like, I want to get that, I want to try that, or like, I want to see that, how do I do that? You know, that's why nowadays it's far easier actually to get started. You're just off and away.
Well, the audience is there via other platforms.
Yeah,
It's easier to get in touch with them.
If your product is good, you know, it's not like back in the day, it was actual word of mouth. Like, have you tried Twitter? And Twitter is stupid. and, you know, people had to find out about it really slowly. Now, word of mouth is powered by Twitter and Facebook. And it's just like explosive. So, boom, you're just off to the races. Then the hard part is really keeping that going. So it's easy to get jumpstart. The hard part is the long-term view, the long-term, you know, running of a company, trying to create a company of enduring value. That's the hard part.
Is it hard for you to go off and create Jelly and see right across the street Twitter doing their thing, and you not wanting to kind of... Do you ever think to yourself, oh, they just changed the layout like this. They just... now they're thinking about getting rid of retweets. They're doing it wrong. Why are they doing this? Doing it like this?
No, the reason I don't think that way is because I tend to take a very long view of things.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my perspective, yes, I worked at Twitter for 5 years, and I stopped working day to day in 2011. Some people might think 5 years is a long time, but, you know, Twitter just went public.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, Twitter's just getting started. If Twitter is going to be a timeless company of enduring value, it's just beginning. It has this, you know, let's think 20, 30 years, you know, like, did GM have a bad week at some point? Like, sure, you know. So I tend not to like think about it at that granular level. It's just like just to bring it down to earth. It's just like when people are trying to lose weight, they always tell you don't look at the scale every day, because it's gonna go like up. It's gonna go up and down every day. What you want to do is you want to look at the long term trend. Are you trending up? Or are you trending down?
Take a look at the big picture. Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it, and I don't look at it on a like day-by-day basis. You know, that would probably drive me nuts.
Do you think Twitter has the chance to last 30, 40, 50 years?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we spent a lot of time building that deep executive bench, building this incredible team.
Yeah.
That's why I felt appropriate, and I felt it was appropriate, and I felt comfortable enough to leave, because I knew that we had put in place the team that was going to take us all the way.
How scary is that to hand your child over?
Well, my actual child.
I mean,
is different. I mean, people do refer to startups as your baby and everything, but now that I actually have a real son,
it's different.
It's very different. Like, I'm not going to give my actual son to a stranger.
No.
But also, we weren't handing it over to a stranger. You know, like Dick Costolo, CEO of Twitter. I knew Dick Costolo for 10 years.
Yeah.
We hired Dick Costolo. We loved Dick Costolo. So, you know, we knew who we were bringing aboard and who was going to take this all the way. So, you know, sometimes when I go in and everyone's like, "Oh, Biz is here," and everyone's hugging me. Of course, it's bittersweet, you know.
Yeah.
But it also feels great.
Wow. The whole thing is crazy to me. I think
it is crazy.
It's insane.
I mean, you're right in saying that.
And when I tweeted out that you were coming by, a lot of people wanted to know why 140 characters.
Oh, that's easy.
You probably get that question probably every day.
Yeah, but it's actually a technical reason. When we built Twitter initially, we wanted to be very sort of agnostic with regard to what sort of devices you could use Twitter on. And we were specifically thinking of text messaging, SMS, which at the time, 2006, like was really just kind of just taking off.
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
US.
weak then.
And the international limit on text messages all over the world is 160 characters. So initially, when we first built the prototype, because we wanted people to be able to both read and write their tweets in their entirety on any device, right? So the crappiest feature phone, fanciest smartphone, there weren't even really that many fancy smartphones at the time, or desktop. So the original prototype was actually it was the maximum. It was 160 characters minus however many characters were in your name, and I was like, Jack, it's kind of unfair because my name's just Biz, and what if somebody's name is like Jonathan? Like, I have more characters.
Yeah.
Maybe what should we do about that? It doesn't seem fair. And Jack was like, you're right. We should standardize it. So we just picked 140, and now that number is like just burned in my brain. Like every time I look at my phone and I see that it's 140 in the afternoon, I'm like, oh my god, 140. Like I see that number everywhere. It's crazy.
With the landscape right now and you launching Jelly, is the next great app, is the next great piece of social media, has it yet to be discovered, do you think? Or have we uncovered kind of the fundamentals?
No, I think we're at the beginning. I very
really
much. Again, taking that long view, this just started. If you take a long view, all of this just started.
Yeah.
Social networking, Twitter, Jelly, like all this stuff is really just beginning. We're just beginning to figure it out, right? And the only thing that I can sort of predict with any degree of confidence is that things of true value to people will be long lasting and will stick. Things that people find valuable.
Yeah.
Things that help people with their day. Things that help people with their work, help people with their life. When any piece of software has a true value to it, it's got a life. It's got a long life.
What's one thing you would say to that college sophomore who's sitting right now with this great idea in his dorm room, or that high school senior who's about to graduate and he just came up with this idea for an app? What do you say to him?
Build it. The key is to build it. You build it. It doesn't matter how janky it is. Like, the prototype can be like totally messed up, right? But you build something first. You don't go around like, I have an idea. Can I? An idea is just an idea. Everybody has ideas. It's all in actually making that idea real and executing on that idea. So, if you're not technical, you find a technical co-founder.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to drop out or anything. You just get it out of your head, get it into some kind of working mode. It doesn't have to be like perfect. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Just build something that you can say, that you can demonstrate. Once you can demonstrate something,
that's easier to sell too.
Then it's so much easier to then get to explain to other people, this is what it does, here's how it is. If you just have a paragraph about what it might be, or a drawing or something, that's not enough. You gotta get your hands dirty.
And I mean, wow, this is wild. No, I mean, can I be honest? There is our demo, right? The 500,000 college kids that listen to us every night. I mean, they're the kids that kind of need a little bit more inspiration. They might not know what to do, and they don't know what direction to go into.
Yeah.
It's good to really hear from someone like you. I mean,
well,
it makes a difference.
It really is important. A lot of people just don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
They haven't found like what they love yet. And that, for me, I know that what I like to do is I like to help people. I mean, in the broadest of terms, you could say that Twitter was just, a way to give hundreds of millions of people freedom of speech. That's helping people, right?
Yeah.
So I do a lot of philanthropic work. My new app is Jelly. It's Jelly helps people is like our tagline,
Yeah.
And I've found that about myself, so that makes it so much easier to go through life when you know what you like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I totally understand. I know people, even older people, who still haven't found what they really like and what they want to do, and that's what you got to figure out. Because once you figure that out, then you're on a mission.
Exactly. Everything comes after that.
Everything just falls into place, and everything seems charmed.
Yeah, I agree. Biz Stone, things a little bird told me. You got to pick up the book. It's out April 1st.
Yep, and it's not a joke. It's actually out April 1st.
And you got to download Jelly. It's for free.
Yeah, download Jelly. It's free. Go to the App Store, search Jelly. We're #1.
Biz, it was really an honor talking to you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.